The gentle crackle of the fireplace fills the quiet evening air as we begin our journey into the fascinating world of Edo period Japan, a time spanning from 1603 to 1868, when the Tokugawa shogunate ruled over a nation in peaceful isolation. Picture yourself settling into a comfortable chair by the warmth of glowing embers as we explore the intricate social tapestry of old Japan, where courtesans held a unique and complex position in society. During this remarkable era, Japan was a country of strict social hierarchies, yet within the pleasure quarters, or yukaku, an entirely different world existed. The most famous of these districts was Yoshiwara in Edo, present-day Tokyo, established in 1617 as a walled quarter where entertainment, art, and companionship flourished under carefully regulated conditions. The warm glow of the fire dances on the walls as we contemplate how these districts were like small cities within cities, complete with their own customs, traditions, and elaborate social structures. The courtesans, known as yujo, were far more than simple entertainers. They were accomplished artists, poets, musicians, and dancers who spent years perfecting their craft. The highest ranking courtesans, called oiran, were celebrities of their time, setting fashion trends and inspiring literature and art. Their elaborate kimono could cost more than a merchant's annual income, adorned with intricate embroidery depicting seasonal flowers, mythical creatures, and poetic motifs that told stories without words. Listen to the soft crackling of the logs as we imagine the narrow streets of Yoshiwara at twilight, lit by paper lanterns, casting dancing shadows on wooden buildings. The architecture of these districts was distinctive, with latticed windows, called koshi, that allowed glimpses of the interior while maintaining an air of mystery. Tea houses, restaurants, and elaborate brothels lined the streets, their wooden facades weathered by time and countless stories. The daily life of a courtesan began long before evening fell. Mornings were dedicated to beauty rituals that could take hours to complete. The application of white face powder, made from rice powder and sometimes containing dangerous lead compounds, was an art form in itself. The stark white makeup served multiple purposes beyond beauty. It created a porcelain-like perfection that transcended individual features, allowing the courtesan to become a living work of art. The fire's warmth reminds us of the charcoal braziers that heated the wooden buildings of old Japan. These women would sit by similar warming devices as they underwent their elaborate preparations. Their lips were painted in a small, bow-like shape using safflower-based rouge, while their eyebrows were often shaved and redrawn higher on the forehead. The process was meditative, almost ritualistic, transforming the woman into an idealized vision of feminine beauty. Hair arrangements were perhaps the most complex aspect of their appearance. The elaborate styles, called shimada, required the skills of professional hairdressers and could take several hours to complete. These intricate coiffures were decorated with numerous ornamental hairpins, combs, and seasonal flowers, each piece carefully chosen to complement the courtesan's outfit and the time of year. The weight of these decorations meant that many courtesans developed strong neck muscles and learned to move with deliberate grace to maintain their elaborate hairstyles. The kimonos worn by high ranking courtesans were masterpieces of textile art. Layer upon layer of silk created a cascade of colors and patterns that shifted with every movement. The obi, or sash, could be 12 feet long and required assistance to tie properly. These garments were so valuable that they were often passed down through generations of courtesans or sold to help fund a woman's retirement from the profession. As the fireplace continues its gentle symphony, we can almost hear the soft rustling of silk and the gentle clicking of wooden gaita sandals on polished floors. The courtesan's movements were choreographed and deliberate, trained from childhood to embody grace and elegance. Every gesture had meaning, from the way they held their fan to how they poured tea. This studied perfection created an almost otherworldly presence that captivated clients and admirers. The pleasure quarters operated under their own unique economy and social structure. Courtesans were ranked in a strict hierarchy, from the magnificent oiran at the top to various levels of companions and entertainers below. This ranking system determined everything from the courtesan's living quarters to the clients she could receive and the prices she could command for her company. Education was highly valued in these districts. Courtesans were expected to be well versed in classical literature, poetry, music, and dance. They could engage in sophisticated conversations about art, politics, and philosophy with their educated clientele. Many were accomplished calligraphers, and some even composed poetry that was published and admired beyond the quarter's walls. This intellectual cultivation set them apart from other entertainers and justified the enormous sums wealthy patrons paid for their exclusive company. The wooden buildings of the pleasure quarters were marvels of Japanese architecture, designed for both beauty and function. Sliding screens called shoji could transform spaces instantly, creating intimate private rooms or opening up larger areas for entertainment. The integration of indoor and outdoor spaces through carefully planned gardens and courtyards brought nature into these urban sanctuaries, with carefully placed stones, water features, and seasonal plantings that changed throughout the year. The fire continues to crackle softly as we find ourselves approaching one of the most elegant tea houses in the Yoshiwara district during the height of the Edo period. The evening air carries the delicate fragrance of incense mixed with the subtle perfumes favored by the courtesans, sandalwood, cherry blossom, and the mysterious blend of rare spices that marked the presence of wealth and sophistication. Our journey begins at the entrance to this remarkable establishment, known as the House of the Floating Moon, where paper lanterns cast warm, golden light across the polished wooden walkway. The gentle sound of a bamboo water feature provides a rhythmic counterpoint to the distant sound of shamisen music drifting from within. The architecture speaks of centuries of refinement, with curved roof lines that seem to float against the dusky sky, and intricate wooden carvings that tell stories of legendary courtesans and their patrons. As we step across the threshold, our feet encounter the smooth, worn wood of floors that have been polished to a mirror like sheen by countless years of careful maintenance. The interior reveals itself slowly, like a flower opening at dawn. Sliding screens painted with seasonal motifs, autumn maple leaves dancing in the wind, divide the space into intimate chambers while maintaining the flow of gentle breezes that carry the commingled scents of jasmine tea and burning cedar. The walls are adorned with hanging scrolls featuring calligraphy by famous poets, their elegant brushstrokes capturing verses about the ephemeral nature of beauty and the precious moments of human connection. Between these scrolls hang woodblock prints depicting scenes from classical literature, their muted colors and delicate lines creating an atmosphere of refined melancholy that was so treasured in Japanese aesthetics. Low tables of polished camphor would sit at precise intervals throughout the main reception area, each accompanied by silk cushions in subtle shades of moss green, autumn rust, and deep indigo. The placement of each element follows the principles of spatial harmony that governed traditional Japanese interior design, creating a sense of balance and tranquility that immediately calms the spirit of anyone who enters. The fire's warmth echoes the feeling of the charcoal braziers that provided heat throughout this establishment. These heating devices were works of art in themselves, crafted from iron and decorated with motifs that changed with the seasons. In autumn, they might feature falling leaves. In winter, snow-covered branches. In spring, cherry blossoms in full bloom. The gentle, radiant heat they provided created zones of comfort throughout the space, allowing guests to choose their preferred level of warmth. As evening deepens, we observe the careful lighting of paper lanterns throughout the tea house. Each lantern is positioned to create pools of soft, warm light that enhance rather than overwhelm the natural beauty of the surroundings. The paper itself is handmade from mulberry bark, creating a unique texture that filters light beautifully, casting subtle patterns on nearby surfaces. The wooden frames are crafted from bamboo that has been aged for years to achieve the perfect balance of strength and flexibility. The sound of wooden geta sandals on polished floors announces the approach of our hostess, a woman of middle years whose movements embody decades of training in the precise choreography of hospitality. Her kimono, while elegant, is deliberately understated compared to those worn by the courtesans themselves. Deep purple silk with a subtle pattern of flowing water that catches the lamplight as she moves. Her obi is tied in the formal style, reserved for those who manage such establishments, and her hair is arranged in a chignon that speaks of authority and discretion. She kneels gracefully beside our low table, her movements creating barely a whisper of sound. The tea ceremony that follows is not the formal chanoyu of the temples, but rather the more relaxed yet equally respectful service common to such establishments. The ceramic tea bowls are masterpieces of the potter's art, each one unique, some bearing the subtle irregularities that mark them as products of famous kilns. The tea itself releases an aroma that speaks of mountain mists and careful cultivation, its warm, grassy scent mingling with the ambient fragrances of the evening. Through the latticed windows, we catch glimpses of the carefully maintained garden that serves as the heart of this establishment. Even in the gathering darkness, the outlines of carefully pruned pine trees and precisely placed stones create a landscape that changes subtly with each shift in perspective. A small stream meanders through the space, its gentle murmur adding another layer to the evening's peaceful symphony. The garden follows the principles of borrowed scenery, incorporating distant views of traditional rooftops and temple pagodas to create the illusion of vast natural spaces within the confines of the urban pleasure quarter. The evening's entertainment begins to unfold around us with the subtle appearance of musicians in an adjacent room, the sound of shamisen strings being carefully tuned creates anticipation, while the soft thrum of a koto provides a foundation of harmony that seems to arise from the very walls themselves. These instruments, crafted from the finest materials by master artisans, produce sounds that are both complex and deeply soothing, their tones designed to complement rather than dominate conversation. As we settle more deeply into this atmosphere of refined tranquility, we begin to understand how such establishments served as sanctuaries from the harsh realities of Edo period life. Here, within these carefully crafted spaces, time moved at a different pace. The pressures of social hierarchy, political uncertainty, and economic hardship could be temporarily set aside in favor of aesthetic appreciation, intellectual discourse, and human companionship elevated to an art form. The tea house fills gradually with other guests, each arrival handled with the same meticulous attention to protocol and comfort. Wealthy merchants, minor nobility, and successful artisans gather in small groups, their conversations flowing like the gentle stream in the garden. The social mixing that occurred in such places was unusual for the rigid class system of Edo Japan, creating temporary communities bound by shared appreciation for beauty and refinement rather than birth or occupation. The fireplace continues its gentle murmur as we witness the intricate daily preparations that transformed ordinary women into the ethereal beings known as courtesans. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the pleasure quarter still rests in peaceful slumber, the process of metamorphosis begins in chambers designed specifically for this elaborate ritual of transformation. Picture the private quarters where these remarkable women begin their day, rooms lined with low wooden chests containing hundreds of cosmetics, tools, and accessories accumulated over years of practice. The morning light filters through paper screens, creating the perfect illumination for the delicate work ahead. The air is perfumed with the subtle fragrances of rice powder, plant based dyes, and the precious oils imported from distant lands at enormous cost. The first step in this daily transformation involves the careful cleansing of the skin with soft cloths dipped in warm water, infused with rice bran and aromatic herbs. This gentle exfoliation removes any trace of the previous day's makeup while preparing the skin for the layers of cosmetics to come. The process is meditative, almost sacred, performed with movements that have been refined through countless repetitions until they become a form of moving meditation. The application of the distinctive white face powder called oshiroi requires extraordinary skill and patience. Made primarily from rice powder, mixed with water, and sometimes containing other ingredients like ground seashells or flower petals, this cosmetic creates the porcelain like complexion that became the hallmark of courtesan beauty. The powder is applied with soft brushes made from the finest animal hair, each stroke carefully controlled to create an even, luminous surface that appears almost otherworldly in candlelight, listen to the soft crackling of the fire as we imagine the gentle sounds of this morning ritual, the whisper of powder being mixed with water, the soft tapping of brushes against ceramic containers, the rustle of silk as assistants move quietly around the seated courtesan. This process could take several hours, during which time the woman being transformed would often meditate or practice mentally, rehearsing poetry and conversation topics for the evening ahead. The creation of the distinctive lip shape was perhaps the most challenging aspect of the makeup application. Using a small brush and pigment made from safflower petals, the courtesan would carefully paint a much smaller mouth than her natural lip line, creating the bow-like shape that was considered the epitome of feminine beauty. This technique required years to master, as the slightest tremor or miscalculation could ruin the entire effect. The lips were often outlined first with a barely visible line, then filled in with multiple layers of color to achieve the desired intensity and longevity. The eyebrows presented another complex challenge. The natural eyebrows were often completely shaved off and redrawn higher on the forehead using a mixture of charcoal and plant-based dyes. The new eyebrows were painted as delicate curved lines that complemented the overall facial composition. Some courtesans added small dots or additional decorative elements around the eyes, each detail carefully considered to enhance the mask-like perfection of the final result. As the fire's warmth envelops us, we can almost feel the weight of the elaborate hair ornaments being carefully positioned by skilled assistants. The hair itself had been washed and treated with various oils and perfumes the night before, then carefully arranged while damp to hold the complex shapes required for the traditional styles. The process of creating these elaborate coiffures was so time-consuming and delicate that many courtesans would sleep sitting upright, using special wooden pillows called takamakura that supported the neck while preserving the hairstyle. The insertion of each hair ornament was a careful ritual in itself. Combs made from tortoiseshell or rare woods were positioned first, their teeth designed to hold sections of hair in place while adding decorative elements to the overall composition. Then came the kanzashi, elaborate hairpins that could be simple or incredibly ornate, depending on the courtesan's rank and the season. These might include silk flowers, dangling ornaments that moved with each gesture, or precious metals crafted into miniature works of art. The selection of kimono for the evening represented another level of artistic decision-making that could influence the courtesan's success with her clients. The garments themselves were stored in special wooden chests lined with silk and scented with sachets of dried flowers and aromatic woods. Each kimono was a masterpiece of textile art, its patterns and colors chosen to complement the season, the courtesan's personality, and the specific events planned for the evening. The process of dressing in these elaborate garments required assistance from multiple attendants, as the layers of silk could be overwhelming for a single person to manage. The undergarments alone could number half a dozen or more, each serving both practical and aesthetic purposes. The careful arrangement of each layer created the distinctive silhouette that made the courtesan appear to glide rather than walk, her movements constrained by the garments into the graceful, deliberate gestures that became part of her artistic persona. The obi, or sash deserved special attention in this daily ritual. These masterpieces of weaving could be up to 12 feet long and several feet wide, their surfaces decorated with patterns that told complete stories or celebrated particular seasons or festivals. The tying of the obi was an art form that required considerable strength and skill, as the finished knot needed to maintain its shape and position throughout an entire evening of entertainment. Different knot styles conveyed different messages about the courtesan's availability, mood, or the nature of the evening's activities. As each element of the transformation was completed, the woman began to disappear, and the artistic creation began to emerge. The elaborate makeup created a mask that hid individual features in favor of idealized beauty. The constraining garments forced movements into prescribed patterns that emphasized grace over naturalness. The heavy hair ornaments required constant awareness of posture and gesture. Through this daily metamorphosis, the courtesan became a living work of art, a carefully crafted fantasy designed to transport clients from the mundane realities of everyday life into a realm of aesthetic perfection and sensual delight. The final preparations included the careful selection of personal accessories, fans painted with seasonal motifs, small perfume containers, decorative pouches for cosmetic touch-ups, and the elaborate cases that held the tools of literary accomplishment such as inkstones, brushes, and high-quality paper for writing poetry. Even these practical items were chosen for their beauty and symbolic significance, adding layers of meaning to every aspect of the courtesan's presentation. The fire burns lower now, its gentle light mirroring the paper lanterns that illuminate the pleasure quarter. As evening deepens into night, we find ourselves in the main reception hall of our tea house, where the evening's entertainment unfolds with the measured pace of a traditional theatrical performance. The atmosphere grows more intimate as the formal constraints of daylight give way to the mysterious possibilities of darkness. The first courtesans of the evening make their entrance with movements so refined they seem to float across the polished wooden floors. Each appearance is choreographed to create maximum impact while maintaining the illusion of effortless grace. The rustling of silk against silk creates a subtle percussion that mingles with the ambient sounds of the evening, the distant murmur of conversation, the gentle plinking of shamisen strings, and the ever-present whisper of autumn wind through the carefully tended gardens. Our hostess appears beside us once again, this time accompanied by an assistant carrying a tray of delicate ceramic cups filled with warm sake. The rice wine has been heated to the perfect temperature in containers designed specifically for this purpose. Their surfaces warmed by the same charcoal braziers that provide comfortable heat throughout the establishment. The sake itself tells a story of careful cultivation and brewing, its subtle flavors enhanced by serving vessels that have been chosen to complement both the beverage and the evening's aesthetic themes. The conversations that begin to flow around us demonstrate the sophisticated discourse that set these establishments apart from ordinary drinking houses or simple entertainment venues. A wealthy silk merchant discusses the latest techniques in dyeing with a courtesan whose knowledge of color theory and artistic traditions rivals that of professional artists. At another table, A minor government official and his companions debate the merits of different poetry styles, while their courtesan hostess offers insights drawn from her extensive reading of classical literature. Through the carefully arranged lighting, we observe the subtle interactions that govern these social gatherings. The courtesans move between tables with practiced ease, their conversations flowing seamlessly from topic to topic while maintaining the delicate balance between familiarity and formal respect that their profession demands. Each woman brings her own personality and areas of expertise to these exchanges, creating an atmosphere of intellectual stimulation that justifies the considerable expense involved in securing their company. The evening's formal entertainment begins with the entrance of musicians who have been preparing in adjacent chambers throughout the early evening hours. Their instruments, shamisen, koto, and various percussion pieces, have been carefully tuned and positioned to take advantage of the room's natural acoustics. The music they create serves multiple purposes, providing a sophisticated backdrop for conversation, marking the progression of the evening's activities, and creating emotional resonance for the various performances that will follow. As the fire continues its comforting presence, we witness the beginning of a dance performance that exemplifies the artistic training that distinguished high ranking courtesans from other entertainers. The dancer emerges from behind a painted screen with movements so controlled and precise that each gesture appears to be suspended in time. Her fan, an extension of her arm, traces patterns in the air that tell stories from classical literature, while her feet maintain contact with the floor through steps so small they barely disturb the hem of her elaborate kimono. The dance itself draws from multiple traditional forms, combining elements of classical court dance with movements derived from theatrical traditions and folk celebrations. The story being told through movement concerns a legendary princess who chose love over duty, ultimately finding herself transformed into a crane that visits her beloved only during the full moon. The narrative unfolds through subtle changes in posture, the positioning of hands and arms, and facial expressions that remain visible despite the elaborate makeup that conceals individual features. The accompanying music grows more complex as additional instruments join the performance. A flute adds its ethereal voice to the ensemble, its wooden body producing tones that seem to carry the essence of wind through bamboo groves. Small drums provide rhythmic punctuation that emphasizes particular moments in the dance narrative, while bells and other percussion instruments add textural elements that enhance the overall sonic landscape without overwhelming the delicate balance of sound and silence. Between formal performances, the evening flows through periods of more intimate interaction as courtesans engage their clients in conversation, poetry composition, and various parlor games that demonstrate wit and cultural knowledge. These interludes reveal the true artistry of the profession, as each woman must adapt her personality and conversation style to complement the preferences and interests of her particular companions while maintaining the refined persona that defines her professional identity. The food served throughout the evening represents another aspect of the aesthetic experience that defines these establishments. Small dishes arrive at carefully timed intervals, each one a miniature work of art that pleases the eye as much as The palate. Seasonal vegetables are prepared using techniques that preserve their natural colors and textures while enhancing their flavors through subtle combinations of seasonings and cooking methods. Fish and seafood, transported rapidly from coastal waters, are presented in forms that celebrate their natural beauty while demonstrating the chef's technical mastery. The ceramic vessels used for serving these delicacies deserve special attention as they represent collaborations between the establishment and master potters whose work is valued throughout Japan. Each bowl, plate, and serving dish has been chosen to complement specific foods while contributing to the overall visual harmony of the evening. The subtle variations in glaze colors and surface textures create an ever changing tableau as dishes are presented, enjoyed, and replaced throughout the long evening ahead. As we settle deeper into this atmosphere of refined sensuality, the boundaries between performer and audience begin to dissolve. Guests are invited to participate in poetry competitions, their verses written on high quality paper using brushes and ink provided by their hosts. The courtesans serve as both judges and collaborators in these literary exercises, offering suggestions that demonstrate their own educational accomplishments while encouraging creativity and self expression among their clients. The evening progresses through various phases of entertainment and social interaction, each one designed to deepen the sense of escape from ordinary reality while providing intellectual and aesthetic stimulation. The careful pacing ensures that no single activity continues long enough to become tedious, while the transitions between different types of engagement are so smooth they feel like natural evolution rather than planned programming. The fireplace settles into deeper, more contemplative rhythms as we enter the realm where ancient wisdom meets the delicate art of feminine mystery. In the quieter chambers of our tea house, away from the more public entertainments, we discover the fascinating world of knowledge passed down through generations of courtesans, including those curious and often ingenious methods they developed for managing the intimate aspects of their lives, particularly the complex challenge of pregnancy. In their profession, the soft glow of candlelight illuminates a smaller, more private room where an elderly courtesan, now retired from active service, but serving as a mentor to younger women, sits surrounded by scrolls, pottery vessels, and small wooden boxes containing herbs and mysterious preparations. Her knowledge encompasses not only the arts of entertainment and seduction, but also the practical wisdom necessary for women who lived outside the conventional social structures of Edo period Japan. Listen to the gentle crackling of the fire as we learn about the sophisticated understanding these women developed regarding their own bodies and reproductive cycles in an era when medical knowledge was limited and often dominated by male practitioners who had little direct experience with women's health. Courtesans became repositories of practical knowledge passed down through informal networks of feminine wisdom. The tracking of monthly cycles was elevated to an art form, with courtesans maintaining detailed records using subtle, symbolic notations that would be meaningless to outsiders, but conveyed precise information to those initiated in the system. These records were kept on special calendars made from high quality paper, with each day marked using different colored inks or small symbols that indicated various aspects of physical and emotional well being. The calendars themselves were often beautiful objects decorated with seasonal motifs and poetry that disguised their practical purpose. Among the most fascinating aspects of this hidden knowledge were the various methods developed for preventing or managing unwanted pregnancies. These ranged from dietary modifications based on traditional Chinese medicine principles to the use of specific herbal preparations that had been tested and refined over generations. The elderly courtesan carefully measures dried ingredients using delicate bronze scales, her movements precise and reverent as she prepares tisanes and tinctures that represent centuries of accumulated wisdom. The fire's warmth reminds us of the heated stones and warming cloths that played important roles in these traditional practices. Certain herbal preparations were applied externally, using heat to enhance their effectiveness, while others were consumed as teas at specific times in relation to the lunar cycle. The courtesan's understanding of timing was extraordinary, based on careful observation of natural cycles and their correlation with human fertility patterns. Some of the most intriguing methods involved dietary practices that modern science is only beginning to understand. Certain foods were consumed in specific combinations and quantities, their effects on hormonal balance recognized through empirical observation long before the underlying biochemical mechanisms were discovered. Green tea consumption was carefully regulated, with different varieties and preparation methods used for different purposes. Soy-based foods were incorporated into the diet in precise amounts, their phytoestrogen content utilized to influence reproductive cycles in subtle but measurable ways. The use of physical barriers and positioning represented another category of knowledge that demonstrated remarkable sophistication. Courtesans developed various techniques and devices using materials available in their historical context: sea sponges soaked in specific solutions, pessaries made from combinations of plant fibers and medicinal preparations, and positioning methods that were believed to influence conception probability. These practices were discussed in coded language and demonstrated through discrete instruction that maintained privacy while ensuring accurate transmission of knowledge. Herbal knowledge formed the foundation of much of this wisdom tradition. The elderly courtesan opens one of her wooden boxes to reveal carefully preserved roots, dried flowers, and powdered preparations, each labeled with characters that indicate not only the botanical source, but also the specific harvesting conditions and preparation methods required for maximum effectiveness. Some herbs were gathered during particular phases of the moon, others at specific times of day, and still others required complex processing involving fermentation or aging that could take months or even years to complete. The preparation of these remedies was considered a sacred responsibility, with recipes guarded carefully and passed down only to trusted individuals who had demonstrated both competence and discretion. The mixing of ingredients followed precise protocols that took into account not only the physical properties of the substances involved, but also their symbolic and spiritual significance within the broader context of traditional Japanese cosmology. As the evening deepens, We learn about the social networks that supported these practices. Courtesans maintained relationships with specific merchants who could provide rare ingredients, often paying premium prices for materials of guaranteed quality and purity. They also cultivated connections with retired practitioners who could provide guidance in difficult cases, and with discreet medical practitioners who understood the unique challenges faced by women in their profession. The psychological aspects of this knowledge system were equally sophisticated. Courtesans developed techniques for managing stress, anxiety, and the emotional challenges inherent in their profession, recognizing the connection between mental state and physical health. Long before modern medicine acknowledged the mind body relationship, meditation practices, breathing exercises, and various forms of movement therapy were integrated into daily routines designed to maintain both physical and emotional well being. The discretion required in discussing and practicing these arts created a culture of subtle communication that extended far beyond matters of reproductive health. Courtesans developed elaborate codes for discussing sensitive topics, using flower arrangements, fabric choices, and even the arrangement of tea cups to convey information that needed to remain hidden from outside observers. This symbolic language added layers of meaning to every aspect of their environment, turning ordinary objects into vehicles for complex communication. The practical implementation of this knowledge required considerable courage and self reliance, as the consequences of discovery could be severe for women who were already living on the margins of respectable society. Yet the development and preservation of these practices demonstrated remarkable resilience and ingenuity, as generations of women created alternative support systems and knowledge networks that served their specific needs when conventional society offered little assistance or understanding. The integration of these practices into the broader context of courtesan life required careful balance, as the women had to maintain their professional obligations while managing their personal health concerns. The scheduling of various treatments and preventive measures had to accommodate the irregular hours and social demands of their profession, leading to the development of flexible protocols that could be adapted to individual circumstances while maintaining their effectiveness. The fire has settled into its most peaceful rhythm now, glowing embers creating patterns of light and shadow that dance across the walls of our increasingly intimate sanctuary. We find ourselves in the deepest part of the evening when the pleasure quarter takes on an almost dreamlike quality, and the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds seem to blur. This is the time when the most profound connections form, when conversation transcends mere entertainment to touch upon the eternal questions that occupy human hearts across all cultures and centuries. In the private chamber where we now rest, a single courtesan sits in quiet conversation with a regular patron, their relationship having evolved over many years from simple transaction to something approaching genuine friendship. The artificial barriers imposed by their respective social positions have gradually dissolved in favor of authentic human connection, creating a space where truth can be spoken and vulnerability can be safely shared. The courtesan, no longer young but possessed of the deep beauty that comes from years of cultivating wisdom and refinement, speaks in gentle tones about the philosophical questions that have occupied her thoughts during the quiet moments between performances. Her voice, trained through years of practice to carry emotional nuance and poetic resonance, weaves stories that illuminate the human condition while providing comfort to her companion's troubled spirit. Listen to the soft crackling of the burning wood as she describes her observations about the nature of desire and fulfillment, drawing upon both classical Buddhist teachings and her own extensive experience with the complexities of human longing. Her insights, refined through countless conversations with men from all walks of life, reveal patterns of behavior and motivation that transcend individual circumstances to illuminate universal truths about happiness, suffering, and the search for meaning. The conversation flows through various philosophical territories: the impermanence of beauty, the relationship between pleasure and contentment, the ways in which artificial constraints can paradoxically create freedom for authentic expression. These discussions draw upon classical literary sources, from the tale of Genji to the poetry of Basho, but they are grounded in lived experience that gives abstract concepts concrete meaning and practical application. As the evening deepens, we witness the courtesan demonstrating one of her most valued skills: the ability to listen with complete attention and respond with wisdom that addresses not just the spoken words, but the unspoken needs beneath them. This quality, developed through years of training and practice, transforms simple conversation into a form of therapy that provides healing and insight to clients who may have no other outlet for their deeper concerns and fears. The physical environment supports this profound level of interaction through careful attention to every sensory detail. The room is heated to perfect comfort by charcoal braziers that emit no smoke or harsh odors, only gentle warmth that seems to emanate from the very air itself. Incense burns in small ceramic holders, releasing fragrances chosen specifically for their calming and centering properties: sandalwood for grounding, jasmine for opening the heart, and subtle hints of pine that connect the indoor space with the natural world beyond. The lighting continues to grow more intimate as paper screens are adjusted to filter the illumination into increasingly soft and warm tones. This careful manipulation of light serves both practical and psychological purposes, creating an atmosphere that encourages openness and vulnerability while flattering the aging features of both courtesan and client. The play of light and shadow across faces removes harsh details while enhancing the expressiveness of eyes and gestures. Sound plays an equally important role in creating the perfect environment for deep conversation. The distant music from other parts of the establishment provides a subtle backdrop that masks the private words being exchanged while contributing to the overall aesthetic experience. The regular breathing of the participants, the soft rustle of silk garments, and the gentle sounds of tea being poured and consumed create a rhythmic foundation that supports extended periods of contemplative dialogue. The courtesan's movements throughout this portion of the evening become increasingly economical and meaningful, each gesture serving multiple purposes while maintaining the grace and elegance that define her professional identity. The way she arranges her kimono, the angle at which she holds her head, the precise timing of her responses, all of these elements work together to create an environment where her companion feels both honored and comfortable, able to speak freely about topics that he might never discuss with family members or business associates. The topics of conversation during these deep hours often touch upon themes that are universal yet deeply personal: regrets about roads not taken, fears about aging and mortality, questions about the meaning and purpose of life beyond the accumulation of wealth or status. The courtesan's responses demonstrate remarkable psychological insight, offering perspectives that help her companion reframe his concerns in ways that promote acceptance and peace rather than anxiety and despair. As we continue to observe this intimate exchange, we begin to understand how the profession of the courtesan served functions that extended far beyond simple entertainment or physical gratification. These women became confidants, therapists, spiritual guides, and philosophical companions to men who often had few other opportunities for authentic emotional connection. The artificial nature of the relationship, paradoxically, created freedom for genuine intimacy that was difficult to achieve within the rigid social structures that governed family and business relationships. The courtesan's own spiritual development becomes evident through her ability to maintain compassion and wisdom despite the challenges and disappointments inherent in her profession. Her Buddhist training, combined with years of exposure to human nature in all its complexity, has produced a perspective that embraces both the beauty and tragedy of existence without being overwhelmed by either. This equanimity allows her to serve as an anchor of stability for clients who are struggling with the turbulence of their own emotional lives. The physical comfort of the evening continues to deepen as additional layers of silk coverings are provided against the growing coolness of the night air. These textiles, chosen for their softness and warmth, create a cocoon like environment that enhances the sense of safety and privacy necessary for the most vulnerable types of sharing. The weight and texture of the fabrics against the skin provide tactile comfort that supports the emotional vulnerability being explored through conversation. The tea service evolves throughout this portion of the evening to include more substantial nourishment designed to sustain energy while promoting relaxation and mental clarity. Light foods with subtle flavors are presented in small portions that can be consumed without interrupting the flow of conversation. Rice cakes sweetened with bean paste provide gentle energy, while pickled vegetables cleanse the palate and aid digestion. The ceramic dishes used for these offerings are chosen for their tactile pleasure as well as visual beauty. Their smooth surfaces and perfect proportions adding another layer of sensory satisfaction to the evening's experience. The progression of topics follows a natural rhythm that mirrors the deepening night, moving from external concerns toward increasingly internal and personal revelations. The courtesan's skill lies in her ability to sense when her companion is ready to explore deeper territory and when he needs the comfort of returning to safer, more surface level exchanges. This emotional navigation requires extraordinary sensitivity and years of experience in reading the subtle signs of human psychology. As the deep hours of contemplation continue, we witness moments of profound silence that are as meaningful as the spoken words. These pauses allow for internal processing and reflection, creating space for insights to emerge naturally rather than being forced through continuous dialogue. The courtesan understands the value of these quiet interludes, using them to adjust her own energy and prepare for the next phase of emotional exploration. The philosophical discussions that emerge during this time often center on questions that have no easy answers: the nature of happiness, the inevitability of loss, the challenge of finding meaning in a world that often seems arbitrary and unfair. The courtesan's responses draw upon multiple wisdom traditions, combining Buddhist concepts of impermanence and acceptance with Confucian ideals of duty and harmony, seasoned with the practical insights that come from years of observing human behavior in its most unguarded moments. The fire burns with the steady, hypnotic rhythm of deep meditation now, its flames reduced to glowing embers that pulse like a gentle heartbeat in the darkness. We enter the most mysterious phase of our evening, when the boundaries between the sacred and profane dissolve entirely, and the pleasure quarter reveals its most closely guarded secrets. This is the time when ancient wisdom traditions merge with intimate human needs, creating practices that blur the lines between spiritual discipline and physical art. In the innermost chambers of our establishment, accessible only to the most trusted clients and the highest ranking courtesans, we discover rituals and practices that have been passed down through generations of women who understood the profound connections between physical pleasure, emotional healing, and spiritual transcendence. These mysteries, never written down but preserved through careful oral tradition, represent some of the most sophisticated approaches to human sexuality and reproduction ever developed. The elderly courtesan, who serves as keeper of these traditions, moves with reverent precision as she prepares the sacred space for instruction. Her movements, honed by decades of practice, transform the simple act of arranging cushions and lighting incense into a meditation on the proper relationship between human desire and cosmic harmony. Every gesture carries meaning. Every placement of objects follows principles that connect the microcosm of individual experience with the macrocosm of universal energy. Listen to the gentle crackling of the fire as she begins to speak in whispers about the most closely guarded secrets of her profession, techniques for managing fertility that went far beyond simple herbal remedies to encompass sophisticated understanding of energy flow, breathing practices, and visualization methods that could influence the most intimate biological processes. These practices drew upon Taoist concepts of qi circulation, Buddhist meditation techniques, and indigenous Japanese spiritual traditions to create a comprehensive system for managing reproductive health. The breathing practices formed the foundation of this secret knowledge, with specific patterns and rhythms designed to influence hormonal balance and reproductive function. The courtesan demonstrates these techniques through subtle movements of her diaphragm and rib cage, showing how controlled breathing could be used to redirect energy throughout the body and influence various physiological processes. These practices required years to master, as they demanded extraordinary body awareness and breath control that went far beyond ordinary meditation techniques. Visualization played an equally important role in these mysterious arts. Practitioners learned to create detailed mental images of internal organs and energy pathways, using these visualizations to direct healing energy to specific areas of the body. The courtesan describes how adept practitioners could visualize the flow of blood through the reproductive system, imagining specific colors and sensations that corresponded to different phases of the monthly cycle and different desired outcomes. The integration of physical positioning with these mental and respiratory practices created a comprehensive system that addressed reproductive health from multiple angles simultaneously. Certain positions were believed to enhance the effectiveness of herbal treatments, while others were thought to influence the flow of energy in ways that could prevent or encourage conception. These practices were taught through careful physical demonstration and required considerable flexibility and body awareness to perform correctly. The timing of these practices in relation to lunar cycles and seasonal changes added another layer of complexity to the system. Practitioners maintained detailed records of their experiences, noting correlations between different techniques and various environmental factors. The full moon was considered particularly powerful for certain types of energy work, while the new moon was preferred for practices designed to create new beginnings or eliminate unwanted conditions. The psychological preparation required for these advanced practices was as important as the physical techniques themselves. Practitioners learned meditation methods that could induce states of deep relaxation and heightened body awareness, creating optimal conditions for the more subtle aspects of the work. These mental states were cultivated through years of regular practice and required considerable emotional maturity and spiritual development to achieve consistently. As the evening deepens into its most mysterious phase, we learn about the social networks that supported these secret practices. Trusted relationships between courtesans, discreet medical practitioners, and spiritual teachers created underground networks of knowledge and support that operated completely outside official social structures. These relationships often lasted for decades, with information and assistance flowing freely between members of this hidden community. The material culture surrounding these practices included specialized tools and accessories that were often disguised as ordinary objects to avoid detection. Meditation cushions with specific proportions and materials, breathing devices made from precious metals, and various implements for applying herbal preparations were crafted by artisans who understood their true purpose while maintaining the secrecy necessary for their use. The philosophical framework that supported these practices drew upon multiple spiritual traditions to create a comprehensive worldview that honored both the physical and spiritual aspects of human sexuality. This perspective viewed reproductive health as inseparable from overall spiritual development, requiring practitioners to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and self awareness as prerequisites for mastering the more technical aspects of the work. The training process for these advanced practices followed carefully structured progressions that ensured students developed the necessary foundation skills before attempting more challenging techniques. Basic breathing and meditation practices were mastered first, followed by increasingly sophisticated energy work and visualization methods. Only the most dedicated students were eventually initiated into the deepest secrets of the tradition. The ethical framework governing these practices emphasized the importance of using such knowledge responsibly and only for healing and spiritual development, rather than selfish gain or harm to others. Practitioners took informal vows of discretion and commitment that bound them to use their abilities wisely and to preserve the tradition for future generations of women who might need such knowledge. The integration of these secret practices with the public aspects of courtesan life required extraordinary skill in compartmentalization and discretion. Women had to maintain their professional obligations and public personas while simultaneously engaging in spiritual work that demanded considerable time and energy. This dual existence created unique challenges, but also opportunities for integrating mundane and sacred activities in ways that enhanced both aspects of their lives. The documentation of these practices was deliberately minimal and coded with important information embedded in poetry, artwork, and ritual objects rather than explicit written records. This approach protected the knowledge from discovery while ensuring its preservation through multiple channels that would be difficult to suppress or destroy completely. The effects of these practices extended far beyond simple reproductive health to encompass overall physical vitality, emotional stability, and spiritual development. Practitioners often reported enhanced intuition, greater emotional resilience, and deeper capacity for empathy and compassion as natural byproducts of their training. These benefits made the considerable effort required to master the practices worthwhile even for women who may not have needed their reproductive applications. The fire settles into its final comfortable glow, casting the softest possible light across our peaceful sanctuary as the deepest part of the night embraces us with velvet darkness. The pleasure quarter outside has grown quiet, its earlier bustle replaced by the gentle sounds of settling buildings and the distant whisper of wind through carefully tended gardens. We find ourselves in a state of perfect tranquility, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom and beauty of an entire evening's journey through the fascinating world of Edo period courtesans. Our courtesan hostess, her elaborate makeup now softened by the long hours and her movements grown even more graceful through the natural relaxation that comes with the deep night, begins the gentle process of preparing both herself and her remaining guests for the restorative sleep that will soon claim everyone in this peaceful sanctuary. Her actions are deliberate and nurturing, each gesture designed to ease the transition from waking consciousness to the healing realm of dreams. The evening's final tea service includes special herbal blends designed specifically to promote deep, peaceful sleep and pleasant dreams. These carefully crafted combinations include chamomile flowers for relaxation, dried chrysanthemum petals for their cooling and calming properties, and subtle amounts of other traditional herbs that have been used for centuries to ease the mind and body into natural rest. The tea is served at the perfect temperature to warm the body without causing alertness, its gentle vapors carrying aromatherapeutic benefits that enhance the psychological preparation for sleep. Listen to the soft crackling of the dying fire as our hostess begins to speak in increasingly quiet tones about the gentle art of releasing the day's accumulated tensions and concerns. Her voice, already trained to be soothing and melodious, takes on an even softer quality that seems to blend with the ambient sounds of the peaceful night. Her words carry the wisdom of countless evenings spent helping others find rest and restoration after complex days filled with social obligations and emotional challenges. The lighting throughout the establishment is gradually reduced to its most minimal levels, with many lanterns extinguished entirely and others dimmed to provide just enough illumination for safe movement while creating an atmosphere that encourages the natural production of sleep hormones. The remaining light sources are positioned to avoid direct exposure to the eyes while still providing the gentle visual cues necessary for maintaining comfort and orientation in the darkened spaces. The process of removing the elaborate makeup and hair ornaments becomes a meditation on the relationship between public persona and private self. As each layer of cosmetics is gently cleansed away and each ornamental hairpin is carefully removed, the courtesan gradually returns to her natural state while maintaining the inner poise and wisdom that define her true character. This transformation, performed with the same ritual attention that marked the morning's preparation, demonstrates the cyclical nature of daily renewal and the importance of honoring both the public and private aspects of human existence. The silk garments that have provided beauty and elegance throughout the evening are replaced with softer, more comfortable robes designed specifically for rest and relaxation. These sleeping garments, made from the finest materials available, provide warmth without weight and allow for complete freedom of movement during sleep. Their subtle colors and patterns create visual harmony even in the subdued lighting, maintaining the aesthetic standards that govern every aspect of courtesan life while prioritizing comfort and restoration. The physical preparation of the sleeping space involves careful attention to temperature, air circulation, and the arrangement of bedding materials that will provide optimal support and comfort throughout the night. Silk covered cushions and mattresses filled with specially prepared plant fibers create surfaces that conform to the body's contours while maintaining proper support for healthy sleep posture. The bedding itself is scented with subtle fragrances that promote relaxation without being overwhelming or distracting. As the evening's final conversations draw to their natural conclusions, the topics shift toward themes of gratitude, reflection, and peaceful anticipation of tomorrow's possibilities. The courtesan guides these discussions away from any sources of worry or excitement that might interfere with sleep, instead focusing on positive memories from the evening and gentle thoughts about the beauty and mystery of life itself. Her skill in managing these transitions demonstrates the psychological sophistication that distinguished the finest practitioners of her profession. The breathing exercises that conclude the evening's formal activities draw upon meditation traditions that promote the natural onset of sleep through conscious relaxation of both mind and body. These practices begin with awareness of the breath's natural rhythm and gradually progress through systematic relaxation of muscle groups throughout the body. The courtesan's guidance becomes increasingly soft and spaced out, allowing for longer periods of silence that ease the transition toward sleep consciousness. The final arrangement of the physical environment eliminates any potential sources of distraction or discomfort that might interfere with restful sleep. Window screens are adjusted to block external light while maintaining adequate air circulation, and any remaining sound sources are minimized or eliminated entirely. The room's temperature is carefully regulated to promote the natural drop in body temperature that facilitates deep sleep while ensuring adequate warmth for comfort throughout the night. The psychological preparation for sleep includes gentle reflection on the evening's experiences and the wisdom gained through various conversations and observations. This mental review serves to integrate new insights while releasing any tensions or concerns that might have accumulated during the social interactions. The courtesans' final words focus on themes of peace, safety, and the natural cycles of rest and renewal that sustain all life. The traditional blessing that concludes each evening acknowledges the sacred nature of sleep as a time of healing and spiritual renewal. This brief ritual honors the day that has passed while expressing gratitude for the safety and comfort that make peaceful rest possible. The words chosen for this blessing draw upon both Buddhist and indigenous spiritual traditions, creating a sense of connection with larger cosmic cycles and the timeless rhythms that govern human existence. The gradual settling into sleep position involves careful attention to physical comfort and the arrangement of coverings that will maintain optimal temperature throughout the night's natural fluctuations. The silk coverings are arranged to provide warmth without restriction, allowing for natural movement during sleep while maintaining the aesthetic harmony that governs every aspect of the courtesan's environment. The final extinguishing of the remaining light sources marks the formal transition from waking consciousness to the peaceful realm of dreams and restoration. This moment is approached with reverence and gratitude, acknowledging the privilege of safety and comfort that makes such peaceful rest possible. The darkness that follows is not empty, but filled with the accumulated peace and wisdom of the entire evening's journey. The fire has become barely a whisper now, its last embers glowing like distant stars in the soft darkness that embraces our sanctuary with infinite tenderness. The pleasure quarter sleeps peacefully around us, its wooden buildings settling into the comfortable quiet that comes only in the deepest hours of night, when the busy world of human concerns yields to the timeless rhythms of rest and renewal that sustain all life. In this final phase of our journey, we find ourselves suspended between waking and sleeping, awareness gently dissolving into the peaceful darkness that promises restoration and dreams. Our courtesan guide has completed her evening's work, her own breathing now synchronized with the natural rhythms that call all living beings toward the healing realm of sleep. Her presence continues to provide comfort and safety even as consciousness begins its gentle retreat from the day's accumulated experiences. The ambient sounds of our environment have been reduced to their most essential elements: the barely audible whisper of air moving through the building's carefully designed ventilation system, the distant murmur of water flowing through the garden streams, and the soft, settling sounds that old wooden buildings make as they adjust to the changing temperature of night. These gentle sonic textures create a soundscape that supports rather than disturbs the natural progression toward deep sleep. The fragrances that linger in the air continue to work their subtle magic, promoting relaxation and peaceful dreams through aromatherapeutic properties that have been recognized and utilized for centuries. Sandalwood provides grounding and spiritual protection, while hints of jasmine encourage the heart to release the day's emotional tensions. The natural plant based incenses burn themselves out gradually, their smoke dissipating into the darkness, while leaving behind only the faintest traces of their calming presence. As consciousness begins its gentle withdrawal from ordinary awareness, the boundaries between self and environment start to dissolve in the natural way that precedes healthy sleep. The silk coverings seem to merge with the body they protect, while the soft surfaces beneath provide support that feels increasingly like floating on gentle waves. The transition occurs so gradually that there is no sense of falling or losing control, only a peaceful melting into the comfort that surrounds and supports every aspect of this sacred rest. The darkness itself becomes a nurturing presence, no longer an absence of light, but a positive force of restoration and renewal. In this gentle blackness, the eyes can finally rest completely from their constant work of processing visual information, while the mind begins to release its grip on the analytical thinking that has guided the day's activities. The resulting sense of freedom is profound, as if invisible bonds have been gently loosened to allow complete relaxation. The courtesan's final whispered words seem to come from very far away now, their meaning less important than their tone of absolute safety and care. Her voice becomes part of the general ambiance of peace that pervades the entire environment, a human presence that guarantees protection and comfort throughout the vulnerable hours of sleep. The ancient wisdom she represents continues to work its gentle magic, even as specific memories of the evening's conversations begin to fade into the peaceful blur that precedes dreams. The breathing that fills the space becomes increasingly synchronized, as if all present have naturally attuned themselves to some deeper rhythm that connects individual life with universal cycles of expansion and contraction. This shared breath creates a sense of unity and safety that transcends individual concerns, establishing a collective energy field of peace and protection that will sustain everyone throughout the night's journey into restoration. The physical sensations of comfort and support become increasingly distant as awareness shifts from external to internal realms. The careful attention to temperature, texture, and positioning that has been maintained throughout the evening now bears fruit in the form of complete physical ease that requires no conscious monitoring or adjustment. The body settles into its natural healing posture, while the mind releases its supervisory role and allows deeper wisdom to take control of the restoration process. The transition into dream consciousness begins with subtle shifts in the nature of awareness itself. Thoughts become less linear and more associative, allowing connections and insights to emerge that are impossible during ordinary waking consciousness. The evening's experiences begin to transform into symbolic representations that will provide material for the night's dream work, while the deeper layers of mind prepare for the important processing and integration that occurs during sleep. The sense of time begins to stretch and become fluid as the artificial constraints of clock measured duration give way to the natural rhythms that govern healing and renewal. Minutes and hours lose their meaning as consciousness enters a realm where restoration occurs according to the body's own wisdom rather than external schedules or expectations. This temporal freedom allows for complete surrender to the healing process without concern for when it should begin or end. The last traces of the evening's social consciousness dissolve into a more fundamental awareness that connects individual existence with larger patterns of meaning and purpose. The elaborate roles and relationships that have structured the night's interactions fade into the background, revealing the underlying humanity that connects all beings in their shared need for rest, safety, and renewal. This recognition creates a profound sense of peace and belonging that supports the deepest levels of restorative sleep. The final surrender to sleep occurs without effort or decision, as natural as breathing or the beating of the heart. Consciousness simply melts into the waiting darkness, carried by currents of peace and safety that have been carefully cultivated throughout the entire evening's journey. There is no resistance or fear, only complete trust in the ancient wisdom that governs the cycles of waking and sleeping, activity and rest, engagement and withdrawal that sustain all life. The dreams that begin to emerge carry forward the evening's themes of beauty, wisdom, and human connection, transformed into symbolic narratives that will continue the work of integration and healing throughout the night. These dream stories draw upon the rich cultural imagery of old Japan, moonlit gardens, flowing water, seasonal flowers, and the eternal dance of human relationships that creates meaning and beauty in the face of life's inevitable changes and challenges. The protective presence of the Courtesans' wisdom continues to work throughout the sleeping hours, creating a field of safety and nurturing that allows for the deepest possible restoration. Her accumulated knowledge of human nature and the arts of comfort provides invisible support for the night's healing work, ensuring that the sleep that follows will be genuinely restorative and filled with peaceful dreams that prepare the spirit for tomorrow's possibilities. The fire's last ember fades into darkness as consciousness completes its gentle journey into the realm of dreams, where ancient wisdom continues its timeless work of healing, restoration, and renewal. In this sacred darkness, surrounded by centuries of accumulated knowledge about the arts of peace and comfort, sleep becomes not just rest, but a return to the source of all wisdom and beauty, a nightly pilgrimage to the deep springs of renewal that sustain all life through its endless cycles of activity and rest, engagement and withdrawal, learning and integration. The night embraces all with equal tenderness, offering its gifts of restoration to courtesan and client alike, while the ancient rhythms of breathing and heartbeat continue their eternal work of sustaining life through the peaceful hours of darkness. In this perfect quiet, consciousness dissolves completely into the healing darkness, trusting in the wisdom that has guided countless generations through the sacred mystery of sleep and dreams into the infinite peace that awaits all beings who surrender completely to the timeless cycles of rest and renewal that sustain all existence.